At the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I had arranged with Ryan to get our marriage license, but he showed up pushing Chloe, a frail woman in a wheelchair. Jixia, Chloe saved my life 5 years ago and has been ill ever since. Now she doesn't have much time left, and her only wish is to become a bride. Watching Ryan tenderly brush her hair away, his eyes filled with adoration, I calmly asked, "So what?" Ryan said, "To fulfill Chloe's last wish, I must marry her officially. Quit your job and come home to help take care of Chloe. Once this is over, we'll hold a proper wedding ceremony." With that said, he instructed the clerk to stamp the marriage certificate. I took out my phone and called Ethan, who had pursued me for 8 years, at the Civil Affairs Bureau entrance. "Getting married, coming." The phone transmitted Ethan's excited voice. "Wait for me. Whoever goes back on their word is a puppy." I hung up the phone, feeling a surge of warmth in my heart. Ryan pushed Chloe out of the Civil Affairs office, holding the red marriage certificate in his hand. Seeing that I hadn't left yet, he looked impatient. "What are you still doing here?" I calmly replied, "Waiting to get married." Ryan froze for a moment before flying into a rage. "Jasmine, are you deaf or something? Chloe's condition is right before your eyes. Don't you understand it's impossible for us to get married today?" A mocking smile tugged at the corner of my lips. "Who he registers his marriage with now? What does it have to do with me?" Chloe spoke weakly. "Brother Hua, don't blame Sister Jiang, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have appeared." As she spoke, her eyes reddened. That Chloe pitiful look made passers-by stop and stare. I watched Chloe's performance with cold eyes. Her face was rosy, and she spoke with vigor, nothing like someone seriously ill. Chloe suddenly turned to me. "Sister Jiang, I know you're feeling down right now, but Brother Hua and this might be our last chance. Could you take a photo for us? Consider it a keepsake before we die." As she spoke, she handed me her phone. I didn't answer the phone. Chloe let go of her hand, and the phone fell to the ground with a thud, the screen shattering instantly. Her eyes immediately turned red, looking at Ryan with grievance. "Brother Hua, my phone has many treasured photos. Sister Jiang, why must you destroy even my last remaining memories?" Ryan steadied the swaying Chloe, glaring at me. "Jasmine, even if you're unwilling, you didn't have to deliberately break her phone. I told you, Chloe saved my life. Without her, how would you have had the chance to marry me? Apologize to Chloe immediately, otherwise, we're completely through." The surrounding onlookers began pointing and whispering. "That woman is too vicious, bullying someone who's already this sick. Yeah, mistresses these days really have no bottom line." I looked at Ryan's furious face, feeling a chill in my heart. No point in saying more, I couldn't be bothered to argue with them. "Alright, I'm sorry, Miss Chin, I shouldn't have broken your phone," I said flatly. "I'll pay for the phone repairs. I wish you good health and a speedy recovery." Ryan's expression softened slightly upon hearing this. "At least you have some conscience. Chloe, let's go." "Ignore her." I sat down on a bench in the nearby park. My phone suddenly vibrated, displaying a news notification. Breaking news. President of Fu Corporation abruptly leaves final round of billion-dollar strategic negotiations with Starlight Group. Reason unknown. My heart tightened as I clicked on the news. In the video, Ethan wore an expression of barely contained joy. The scene cut to reporters cornering the president of Starlight Group. "Mr. Smith, President Fu suddenly left the meeting. Does your side consider this as affecting the sincerity of our cooperation?" The blonde CEO, however, smiled and spread his hands. "I completely understand young people doing crazy things for love. Some commitments are more sacred than business contracts. We look forward to a successful meeting next time." My eyes instantly welled up with tears. Ethan and Ryan were both my classmates in college. Back then, Ethan always put me first in everything. But my heart was entirely focused on Ryan. And as for Ethan's affection, though I was grateful, I never truly took it to heart. Looking back now, I must have been blind. Suddenly, Ethan appeared holding a bouquet of roses. Ethan looked at my slightly reddened eyes and said, "Darling, sorry to keep you waiting." The way he called me darling so naturally instantly turned my tears into laughter. After we quickly got our marriage certificate, I knew his affairs were extremely urgent. So I urged him to leave first. He held me tightly and said, wait for me to come back for the wedding. In the evening when I returned home, the moment I pushed open the door, I saw Chloe laying on the sofa wearing my robe. Ryan was moving my belongings out of the master bedroom. Ryan saw me and immediately said, "Why are you only coming back now? Hurry up and help move the stuff." The master bedroom has good ventilation and plenty of sunlight, so I let Chloe move in there. "I moved your things to the maid's room. You'll live there from now on." My blood rushed to my head in an instant. "This is the house I bought. How dare you move my things without my permission?" He turned to look at me. "Jasmine, why are you so petty? Chloe doesn't have much time left. Can't you just let her have this?" I couldn't be bothered with him and walked straight to the maid's room to move my things back. Just as my hand touched the doorknob, Ryan suddenly shouted from behind, "Wait." I turned around and saw him wink at Chloe, then smile at me and say, "It's nothing. Go on in." I pushed the door open. Splash! A basin of ice-cold water poured down from above the doorframe. I was drenched from head to toe, shivering from the cold. Unrestrained laughter erupted in the living room. "Ha ha ha, Chica, you look absolutely hilarious drenched like that." Ryan clutched his stomach, laughing so hard he nearly fell over, tears streaming from his eyes. Chloe was shaking with laughter, pointing at me while gasping for breath. "Brother, you're so mean. Ha ha ha, you shameless couple. Get out of here." As soon as the words were spoken, Chloe suddenly turned pale. She covered her chest and started coughing. Cough, cough, cough. Her body swayed unsteadily, collapsing directly into Ryan's arms. "I feel so sick. Cough. Am I dying?" "Brother, it's time for me to take my medicine." Ryan immediately tensed up, grabbing my arm. "Go to the kitchen and prepare Chloe's medicine now." I struggled to refuse. "You go do it yourself. Chloe's so seriously ill. Can't you lend a hand?" He gave a forceful push, and I was caught off guard. Crashing into the corner cabinet, blood instantly beaded on my forehead, trickling down my cheek. Ryan saw the blood, and his eyes flickered momentarily. He was just about to speak. Chloe beat him to it. "Brother, don't make things difficult for Sister Jiang." She leaned weakly against the sofa. "I can endure it myself. It's not like there's much time left anyway." Ryan looked at her with heartache, then turned to me angrily. "Look at Chloe. So sensible and adorable. And you, ever since yesterday you've been acting like a complete drama queen." He slammed the kitchen door shut with a bang. "You're not coming out until the medicine is properly brewed." The front door closed with a heavy thud. From outside the door came Chloe's excited voice. "Brother, I suddenly feel better. I was just a bit tired earlier, but now I'm full of energy." Ryan's excited voice immediately followed. "Really, Chloe, are you really better?" Chloe cooed playfully. "Maybe seeing you gave me strength. Heaven has eyes." Ryan's voice trembled. "Dear heavens, if possible, I'd willingly trade 10 years of Jasmine's and my lifespan for Chloe's lifelong safety." I was shaking with rage, pounding violently on the kitchen door. "Ryan, open the door. I'll call the police if you don't open up." Several minutes later, the lock finally clicked open. Ryan stood at the door with a dark expression. "Chloe's body can't take this kind of stimulation. Are you determined to drive her to her grave?" "This is my house." I enunciated each word clearly. "I want you out, now." Immediately, Ryan froze, sensing something off about my attitude today. In the past, I would have already backed down and apologized. Ryan grew furious with shame. "Jasmine, if you keep acting like this, don't expect me to marry you in the future. Chloe, let's go. Leave her here to go crazy by herself." I ignored him and turned to walk toward the master bedroom. Pushing open the door to the master bedroom, the sheets were crumpled into a ball, with used tissues scattered on top. On the maple red sheets, there was a dark stain. Beside the pillow, there was also a small puddle of half-dried, nauseating white sticky substance. My stomach started churning, and I almost threw up on the spot. I quickly changed into dry clothes and pulled my suitcase out the door. In the living room, Chloe was still playing the delicate flower in Ryan's arms. I walked straight out the front door and took a taxi to the nearest 5-star hotel. Just settled into the hotel room when a WeChat friend request popped up on my phone. The moment I accepted, the screen was flooded with a series of shocking photos. Ryan and Chloe in various intimate poses, way beyond appropriate. The background was unmistakably my master bedroom, my bed. Right after, Chloe sent a voice message. How about it, Jasmine? When Brother Hua was beneath me, he was way more passionate than with you. He said you're like a dead fish, utterly boring. Oh, and we also tried out the bed in your master bedroom. Great bounce. Really sets the mood. Using your stuff feels so different. Hee. Blood rushed to my head instantly. With trembling fingers, I typed, a bitch and a dog are a match made in heaven. After sending it, I immediately blocked her. The next day, I called a cleaning service to thoroughly clean the house. As soon as I opened the door, I felt as if struck by lightning. The once familiar home was now decorated with lanterns and streamers. Dozens of people were gathered inside, clinking glasses and reveling in the lively atmosphere. Before I could even process what was happening, a glass of red wine was splashed in my face. You ungrateful homewrecker, how dare you show your face? A middle-aged woman with a scowling face pointed at me and shouted angrily. I wiped the wine stains from my face and was about to demand an explanation when deafening music suddenly blared. Let's give the warmest applause to welcome today's happiest groom, Ryan, and our most beautiful, strongest bride, Chloe. As they make their dazzling entrance, their excited voice echoed through the room via the microphone. Amidst the music, Ryan slowly pushed Chloe seated in a wheelchair out from the inner room. My gaze swept across the living room, where a huge red banner hung on the wall, Ryan and Chloe's charity wedding banquet. Devoted to love, saving ailing wife Chloe. Ryan noticed me standing awkwardly at the entrance and quickly walked over to me. Jasmine, what brings you here? He lowered his voice with a commanding tone. Chloe doesn't have much time left. This is her final wish. The wedding banquet is just to bring her some joy and raise funds for her treatment. Please bear with it for now. Don't make a scene at this time. These are all Chloe's friends from the patient's support group. They're all here to help. His words completely infuriated me. I pointed at him and the room full of strangers. Have you no shame? This is my house. All of you, get out. Before I could finish speaking, a familiar figure pushed through the crowd, pointing at my nose and yelling, Your house. Jasmine, you bitch, open your damn eyes and see clearly. This is my son and Chloe's wedding home. I bet you can't wait for Chloe to die early so you can take her place. Can you? Not a chance. A fickle, ungrateful woman like you deserves to rot in a ditch. Her words were like lighting a powder keg. The group of patients immediately became enraged, surging toward me like starving wolves. Just as I was being jostled and shoved off balance, an even more piercing voice suddenly erupted from the crowd. Ryan, this mistress actually dares to come crashing the party in person. How brazen can she be? Are you even a man? Stand up for our Chloe. Slap her to teach her a lesson. Someone immediately chimed in. Yeah, hit her. Make her remember this. Ryan, if you still love Chloe, show us where you stand. Ryan turned pale, then flushed. He looked at me, a complex emotion flashing through his eyes. Chloe pretended to shake her head. Don't make things difficult for Brother Hua. Everyone. Ryan suddenly clenched his teeth. He raised his hand and slapped me hard across the face. A crisp slap echoed through the room. My face burned with pain instantly, and my ears rang. Good hit. That's how you teach a shameless mistress a lesson. Serves her right. Should have been beaten long ago. Cheers of excitement erupted from the crowd. Someone pulled out their phone to film me, with the caption boldly stating, At the wedding of the century, the rightful fiancé slaps the shameless mistress. Justice served. At this moment, several middle-aged men with plump faces and large ears took advantage of the chaos to push their way in. One of them rubbed his hands together, his lecherous gaze wandering over me. Well, even the groom has personally stepped into discipline. Looks like these good sisters should keep us company and liven things up. I heard you can go all out with wedding pranks. Come on, little beauty, let's go inside and have some fun with us. I struggled desperately. Let me go. What are you doing? Dirty hands began to roam freely over my body. Stop pretending. We're all in the same boat. Who doesn't know the truth? Exactly. A mistress acting all innocent. What a joke. Excited cheers erupted all around. I looked desperately at Ryan, but he turned his head away with a cold expression. Chloe sat in her wheelchair, a smug smile curling at the corners of her mouth. Eleanor crossed her arms and watched the drama unfold. Serves you right, you had it coming. Should have been taught a lesson long ago. My coat had already been torn to shreds, and several buttons on my shirt were ripped off, exposing large patches of pale skin. Haha, not bad at all. If the groom doesn't want her, we certainly won't complain. One of the men reached out with his grubby hands toward my waist, trying to undo the buttons on my jeans. I closed my eyes, and despair engulfed me like a tidal wave. At that very moment, the front door was slammed open with a bang. A man shouted sharply, "How dare you bully my wife?" The door burst open with a loud crash, and a group of black-suited bodyguards filed in. Those who were still groping me creepy were instantly pinned to the ground by the bodyguards. Screams rose one after another. I collapsed to the ground, staring at the Ethan before me. He draped his coat over me, his voice as light as a feather. "Sorry I'm late." Ryan's face suddenly changed, and he struggled to walk toward Ethan. "Ethan, what do you mean by this? Bringing so many people to my house? I never invited you. Just because you're rich doesn't mean you can do whatever you want." Ethan sneered, his gaze sweeping over the subdued middle-aged men. "You bullied my wife. I can't just let that slide." Ryan froze. "What do you mean, your wife?" Ethan pulled out a small red booklet from his suit pocket and unfolded it in front of everyone. "Jasmine is now my wife." The bright red marriage certificate glared under the light. The entire room fell silent in an instant. Ryan took the marriage certificate, staring fixedly at the date and official seal. His face turning from pale to ashen. "You shameless slut." He hurled the marriage certificate at me. "I'm not even dead yet, and you're already in a hurry to find the next one." As soon as the words were spoken, Ethan grabbed him by the collar. Ryan was instantly lifted off the ground, his face turning bright red. "Shut up." Ethan's voice was cold enough to freeze. "Say one more word, and I'll make sure you never speak again." Ryan wanted to struggle, but was frozen by Ethan's piercing gaze. Ryan's eyes darted toward me like knives, filled with anger, confusion, and an emotion I couldn't decipher. "I think you need to explain yourself." I looked straight into his eyes. "Didn't I tell you that day at the Civil Affairs Bureau, I was waiting to get married?" Ryan's face instantly turned deathly pale. I continued, "I've been blind all these years, but now I've finally woken up. You and I are completely over." Every word felt like a needle piercing his heart. Ethan spoke calmly. "In that case, you may leave." Ryan's face twisted violently, veins bulging. "Get out, all of you get out. Don't ruin our wedding." Chloe pretentiously tugged at his sleeve at this moment. "Brother Hua, don't be angry. Your health is more important." She turned to me, her eyes full of triumphant provocation. "Sister Chin, even though you're married, we're still friends, aren't we? You can understand the feelings between me and Brother Hua, right?" I sneered. "If anyone's leaving, it should be you too." I pulled the property deed out of my bag. The deed for this house clearly has my name on it. Originally, this was prepared for my wedding with Ryan, but now he's gone and registered his marriage with someone else. Then naturally, the wedding can't be held here. "You can have your wedding wherever you like, just not here." Eleanor's face instantly turned ashen. "Jasmine, you bitch. This house was clearly prepared for my son. Then why isn't your son's name on the property deed?" I retorted. Ryan's voice trembled slightly. "Jasmine, don't be so heartless. After all these years of our relationship." "What relationship?" I interrupted him. "When you registered your marriage with her, did you ever think about our relationship?" Chloe suddenly burst into tears. "Sister Chin, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have come back. Maybe you two should get back together. After all, I don't have much time left." Her crying immediately caused a commotion among the patients. "Jasmine, have you no humanity? Chloe is already so sick, you're practically driving someone to their death. Think you're so great just because you have money." Ryan glanced at Ethan, then at the furious crowd, his face filled with inner conflict. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, let's go. But Jasmine, you'll regret this." Just as they were about to leave, Ethan suddenly spoke up. "Wait a minute." Everyone's footsteps came to a halt. "After all, we were classmates. Let me give you a word of warning. That so-called benefactor of yours is completely fake." Ethan's words struck like a bolt from the blue. Ryan's face instantly turned pale. "What do you mean? 5 years ago, you were drowning in the lake. And it was me who pulled you out. Ethan's voice was terrifyingly calm. I happened to have family matters at the time and didn't stay at the scene, while Chloe was merely passing by. Chloe's face instantly turned deathly pale, and her wheelchair began to tremble slightly. Impossible. Ryan took 2 steps back excitedly. Chloe told me herself. She saved me. You're lying. Chloe suddenly screamed. Ethan, you'd even resort to such despicable means to steal Jasmine from me. She turned to Ryan. Her eyes filled with tears. Brother, don't believe him. It was really me who saved you back then. Ryan suddenly turned around and pointed at Ethan, shouting. Are you deliberately mocking me? Disrespecting my benefactor? Ethan, seeing his disbelief, took out his phone and played a video. The footage was crystal clear. It showed exactly that lakeside scene from 5 years ago. Ryan was floundering in the water, on the verge of sinking. Then a figure jumped into the water and pulled him ashore. The one who saved him was indeed Ethan, and Chloe only happened to walk over after Ethan had left. Ryan's face instantly turned deathly pale, and his hands began to tremble slightly. This can't be. Chloe, upon seeing the video, flashed a hint of panic in her eyes but quickly regained her composure. She shook her head, her eyes brimming with tears, and said, Brother, with technology so advanced these days and Mr. Fu being so wealthy, creating a fake video isn't such a big deal. Don't be fooled by him. Ryan hesitated, glancing between the video and Chloe. I could tell he was starting to waver. Just then, Chloe suddenly started coughing violently and slid off her wheelchair, collapsing onto the ground. Brother, am I about to die? She spoke with a faint breath, her face as pale as paper. Ryan panicked instantly, kneeling on the ground to hold her. Chloe, how are you? It's all their fault for provoking you. I'll take you to the hospital right away. Watching Ryan flounder helplessly, a wave of disgust rose within me. Ethan suddenly burst into loud laughter, the sound echoing through the room. Ryan, you're truly a complete idiot. Ryan jerked his head up, eyes blazing with anger. How can you laugh at a time like this? Chloe's in this state. This Chloe's a professional member of a fraud syndicate. Ethan's voice was as cold as ice. She's already committed multiple crimes elsewhere before. You're talking nonsense. Ryan held Chloe and stood up. Cloakledn't possibly be a fraud? She's so kind. Ethan had his bodyguard bring over a stack of documents and threw them directly in front of Ryan. See for yourself. Documents were scattered across the floor, prominently displaying Chloe's various identity information. Wang Xiaoyu, Li Jingwen, Chen Meili, over a dozen different names. Yet all the photos showed the same person. There were also her criminal records, fraud cases, one after another, each more shocking than the last. Ryan's face turned from pale to ashen, his hands trembling uncontrollably as he held the documents. This is also fake. He was practically roaring. You'll resort to any means to separate me and Chloe. Chloe weakly opened her eyes at this moment and saw the documents on the floor. A flicker of panic flashed in his eyes, but he quickly feigned ignorance. Brother, what happened? It's nothing. Chloe, let's go. Ryan held her and started heading for the door. Wait, Ethan's voice rang out. He took out his phone and dialed a number. Hello, 110. I want to report a crime. There's a wanted criminal here. Chloe's face instantly turned deathly pale, unable to keep up the act any longer. She jumped down from Ryan's arms, abandoning her wheelchair, and turned to run toward the door. There wasn't the slightest trace of being terminally ill. Ryan stood frozen in place, watching the briskly walking Chloe, as if struck by lightning. Chloe was restrained by Ethan's bodyguards. Struggling desperately, no longer displaying her previous fragile demeanor, Ethan coldly scanned the scene with a gaze as sharp as a blade. The middle-aged woman who just splashed red wine, and those middle-aged men who tried to get handsy with my wife, they're all part of Chloe's gang. I turned back in shock to look at those people, their faces instantly turning deathly pale. The previously self-righteous woman retreated in panic. I don't know any Chloe, I just can't stand homewreckers. She was the one who ordered you to do this. Ethan's voice was so cold it sent shivers down the spine. The middle-aged men began to panic, with some attempting to flee toward the exit. The bodyguards had already blocked all possible escape routes. My heart was pounding wildly. Now I understood their earlier malice had been premeditated all along. They're not intervening out of a sense of justice, but deliberately trying to humiliate me. I never hit women, Ethan turned to the bodyguard. But she should pay for what she's done. Slap, slap, a crisp slap echoed through the room. Chloe's face immediately swelled, with a trickle of blood seeping from the corner of her mouth. Watching her disheveled state, a surge of satisfaction welled up inside me. Ryan only then snapped out of his shock, staggering toward Chloe. Chloe, why? His voice trembled. I treated you so well. Why did you deceive me? Chloe spat out a mouthful of blood, a flash of malice flickering in her eyes. You can only blame yourself for not controlling your lust, she glared fiercely at Ryan. You believed I was terminally ill, yet with just a crook of my finger, you still couldn't resist sleeping with me. Disregarding my condition, Ryan's face instantly turned deathly pale, his whole body swaying unsteadily. Patient's live stream continued, and the comments section exploded instantly. Holy shit. So it was all a scam. We've all been fooled. This woman is disgusting. She took advantage of our sympathy. The patients were outraged. Realizing they had been used, someone angrily threw something at Chloe. You fraud. You stole all the money we donated. Give me back my hard-earned money. The scene was chaotic as everyone crowded around Chloe. Watching this scene, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Those who had just sympathized with and supported her now seemed ready to tear her apart. Ryan collapsed to the ground, clutching his head in agony as he howled. Why are you doing this to me? His voice was heart-wrenching, as if his very soul had been hollowed out. At that moment, the sound of police sirens pierced the air. Several officers rushed in and swiftly secured the scene. Chloe, you are suspected of fraud and are now under arrest according to law. Chloe looked at me with venomous eyes the moment handcuffs were snapped on her wrists. She was still screaming something when taken away, but I could no longer hear it. Those accomplices were also taken away together, and the scene finally fell silent. Ryan was still sitting on the ground, his entire body as if drained of all its bones. Ethan scanned the scene, his voice cold. Now that the truth is out, everyone disperse. The patients exchanged glances. Some lowered their heads and hurried away, while others turned to look at me, their eyes filled with guilt. I took a deep breath, just about to relax. My dear daughter-in-law. Eleanor suddenly pushed through the crowd, walking toward me with a bright smile. I was stunned. Ryan was just teasing you. How could you take it seriously? She grabbed my hand and said, now that the truth is out, I'll take charge. Today will be your wedding with Ryan. I forcefully pulled my hand away, staring at her in disbelief. Does this world really have someone with such thick skin? Auntie, your son has already registered his marriage with Chloe. I enunciated each word clearly. They are the real couple. Eleanor waved her hand dismissively. That fake one doesn't count, and besides, this house is mine. I pointed to the door. Please leave immediately. Eleanor's face instantly changed color. You ungrateful wretch. Our family has been so good to you. At that moment, Ryan suddenly knelt down. His knees hit the ground heavily with a dull thud. Jisha, it's all my fault for being blind. His voice trembled. I'll go now to Chloe and get the divorce papers. As I watched him kneeling on the ground, a sense of absurdity welled up in my heart. I know you love me. You only married Ethan to spite me. He crawled toward me. Now go divorce Ethan so we can be together again. Ethan stood behind me, and I could feel the warmth radiating from him. I looked at Ryan. I was once blinded by love and humbled myself before you. My voice was very calm. Actually, it's just that I can't accept it. Ryan looked up, hope flashing in his eyes. I've been thinking back on these years Ethan has devoted to me and his affection for me. I reached out and held Ethan's hand. I'm telling you with full clarity now, the one I love is Ethan. Ryan's face instantly turned deathly pale. Now Ethan and I are married. My words cut into him like a knife. Besides, you don't love me at all. You just wanted a backup after losing Chloe. That's not true. Ryan tried to grab my leg, but I dodged. If someone younger and prettier comes along, you'd still kick me aside without hesitation. I looked down at him. So, do you understand now? Please leave. Eleanor was still throwing a tantrum there. This house was clearly meant for you to marry my son. Now it rightfully has a share belonging to our family. Ryan. She pointed at the furniture in the living room. acting as if it were perfectly justified. All these things were chosen by my son. How can you just kick us out like this? I was utterly stunned by her shamelessness. Ethan spoke up directly. Auntie, if you keep making unreasonable trouble, I'll call the police. You can say all this to the judge. His voice was calm, but carried an undeniable authority. Eleanor instantly backed down, but still muttered defiantly, "What's so great about that? Just because they have some stinking money." While grumbling, she followed Ryan toward the door. Before leaving, she didn't forget to turn back and glare at me fiercely. "Jasmine, you'll regret this." The door slammed shut, and the room finally fell silent. I slumped on the sofa, feeling completely drained. The earlier farce felt like an absurd theatrical performance. Ethan walked over and sat down beside me. "This place is already tainted. Let's go out for a change of scenery." I nodded, truly not wanting to stay here for another second. He held my hand as we went downstairs, where a red sports car was parked. The sound of the sports car starting was quiet, but I could feel the pent-up power. Cool wind rushed in through the car window, blowing away the gloom in my heart. I was really scared just now. Ethan suddenly spoke. "What are you afraid of?" "Afraid that you're just like Ryan said, marrying me out of anger." His profile flickered under the streetlight, revealing a hint of unease. I couldn't help but laugh. The great young master Fu, lacking confidence like this. "I've never had confidence when it comes to you." He gripped the steering wheel tightly. "After chasing you for so many years, you never even looked at me properly." A warmth blossomed in my heart. It's true, in the past my eyes only saw Ryan. She turned a blind eye to Ethan's kindness, even taking it for granted. The 100 billion strategic cooperation with Xingyao Group has already been finalized. Ethan changed the subject. "We can take a good break now and leave the work to our subordinates." He turned to look at me. "Jixia, give me a chance to love you properly." The red light at the intersection reflected in his eyes. Like some kind of promise, I reached out to touch his cheek. "Ethan, thank you for always waiting for me." The light turned green, and we moved forward. Behind us were those troubling past experiences. Ahead lay an unknown but hopeful future. Suddenly I realized that losing Ryan was the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. After all, I found someone who truly loves me. Over the next month, Ethan took me strolling down the Champs-Élysées in Paris, walking through the Colosseum in Rome, and taking photos under cherry blossoms in Tokyo. In every place we visited, Ethan would buy me local specialty jewelry. "Why do you always buy these?" I looked at the new string of pearl bracelets on my wrist. "Because you deserve all the beautiful things in the world." He kissed my forehead. I was immersed in the feeling of being cherished like a treasure. Until, in the Maldives hotel, I saw domestic news while scrolling through my phone. Chloe was sentenced to 20 years. Charges included intentional assault, fraud, and several other offenses combined. Netizens are condemning her for being vicious and cruel. "A woman like this deserves to stay in prison for life. Troublemaker, serves you right." Ryan is no saint either, a scumbag paired with a green tea bitch. A match made in heaven. Ryan was also asked to leave due to damaging the company's image. Netizens dug up his photos and spread them everywhere. "No company dares to hire him now. That's the fool who got played by his mistress. Looks decent but has no brains. Probably regrets it to death now." Later, I heard that Eleanor constantly scolded Ryan for not going out to earn money and living off his parents. The conflict between them grew deeper, and during one heated argument, Eleanor jumped from the 10th floor in a fit of anger. She survived, but will likely spend the rest of her life bedridden. But all this has nothing to do with me anymore. The day after returning to the country, I listed that apartment for sale. Ms. Jiang. The apartment is so spacious and luxuriously decorated. "Are you sure you want to sell it urgently?" The agent's voice on the phone was filled with confusion. "Yes, I'm sure." My tone was firm. "Any price is fine. I don't want to see it again." 3 days later, the house was sold for 300,000 less than the market price. I breathed a sigh of relief. These old belongings have finally disappeared completely from my life. Ethan's efficiency amazed me. The wedding preparation team operates with military precision and efficiency. 2 weeks later, on that morning, I stood before the mirror gazing at this $1 million wedding dress. The pure white silk clung to my body, with crystals and pearls sparkling in the morning light. I truly looked like a princess. The sound of car engines rose from downstairs. I pushed open the window and saw a wedding procession of hundreds of Rolls-Royces slowly approaching. Each car was adorned with white roses, gleaming in the sunlight. Ethan stepped out from the first car. The custom-made white suit fit his figure perfectly. With a white rose pinned to his chest, he looked up at my window, his eyes seeing only me. "My princess, I've come to take you away." His voice carried through the distance between floors. The wedding venue left me in awe. The entire city's most luxurious 5-star hotel had been completely booked. The enormous crystal chandelier hung from the dome, with each crystal refracting rainbow-like light. 3,000 imported roses covered the entire stage, red, white, and pink, layered upon each other. Like a sea of flowers from a fairy tale, the guest seats were filled with celebrities from all walks of life: business tycoons, government officials, and entertainment stars. Each one a figure usually only seen on television. They all came for our wedding. As the MC announced the bride's entrance, the lights in the entire hall instantly dimmed. A spotlight descended from above, perfectly illuminating me. The music starts playing. It's my favorite wedding march. I walk slowly down the red carpet toward Ethan. Each step lands softly on flower petals, fragrant and delicate. The guests rise in applause as camera flashes flicker all around. But in my eyes, there is only Ethan. He stood on the stage waiting for me, his eyes brimming with tears. Those were tears of excitement. Tears of happiness. I walked up to him, and he reached out his hand. "I've been waiting for this day for so long, Jixia." His voice trembled slightly. MC began reciting the vows. Ethan held my hand, repeating each word solemnly: "For better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, I will love and cherish you until death do us part." When it was my turn to say the vows, tears finally streamed down my face uncontrollably. "Ethan, thank you for showing me what true love is." My voice choked with emotion. "I want to be your wife and walk through life hand in hand with you." Next, I will tell you the second story. Before marrying Jason, a friend asked him who the woman he loved most profoundly was. He lit a cigarette, remained silent for several seconds, then said, "She's married now. It wouldn't be good for her if I spoke about it." Then, "After being with Hanji for so long, haven't you ever felt anything?" Jason smiled carelessly. "She's dull, docile, and comes from a respectable family. The perfect candidate to be Mrs. Ju." The day before the wedding, the dull and docile bride-to-be woke up in the bed of the groom's best friend, her eyes still hazy with lingering desire. "Tyler, I really like this wedding gift." Tyler smiled faintly and pulled the person into his embrace. "Since you like it so much." Then, once more, as I entered the elevator, I glanced up at myself. My skin was luminous, my brows and eyes subtly defined. But my pupils were pitch black. It was a delicate face that appeared utterly unremarkable at first glance. But when she smiles, a pair of dimples appears at the corners of her lips, adding a touch of playfulness. I recall my best friend Chloe's words: "This truly is what they call happiness radiating from within." Don't you feel like you've been in an amazing state lately, growing more beautiful by the day? I couldn't help but raise my hand to gently touch my face. The wedding is in 3 weeks. I'm going to marry Jason. That irrepressible joy was like bubbles overflowing from a soda bottle. Scattered bursts of joy filled the entire heart. I walked out of the elevator with light steps. The private room door was slightly ajar not far away. The sound of laughter grew closer. Returned to Beijing a day early. I didn't tell Jason, wanting to give him a surprise. The heels sank into the soft carpet. Footsteps were light. No one in the room noticed me outside the door. The laughter was in full swing. "By the way, Brother Sen, you still haven't answered my question from earlier. After all these years, how many women have you loved most deeply? Remember, it's truth or dare. Not a single word can be fake." I instinctively stopped in my tracks, even my breathing unconsciously softened. Jason had his back to the door. I could only vaguely see his profile. He lit a cigarette and remained silent for a few more seconds, then slowly spoke. "1. How unforgettable was it?" Jason chuckled lightly. "Back then, I almost broke ties with my parents for her. I was even prepared to endure a lifetime of hardship with her. I lived with her in a rented apartment for 3 months, eating instant noodles until I couldn't stand them anymore. I sold my watch to celebrate her birthday. She scolded me in anger, then cried and threw herself into my arms to kiss me. His voice grew quieter. I watched with my own eyes as she had an abortion for me at a small clinic. At that time, I really wanted to marry her. Holy shit, who is she, to make you love her so much? Jason shook his head lightly. She's already married. It wouldn't be good for her if I said anything. After saying that, he picked up the glass in front of him and downed it in one gulp. He poured himself another full glass without hesitation. I saw her once last year. She wasn't doing well. I gave her some money, and we spent 3 days together at a hotel. When we parted, she was crying. Jason took another sip of wine and said gloomily, at that time, I almost wanted to break off the engagement with Hanji. I leaned against the wall, feeling a chill seep through every limb and vein. Last year, he was unexpectedly out of contact for 3 days. I remember it clearly. I was so worried that I didn't get a good night's sleep for those 3 days. Just when I was worrying sick about him, he spent 3 days and 3 nights in a hotel with his old flame. I almost threw up from disgust. So, you've been with Hanji for so long, and you never had feelings for her. He leaned back in his chair and smiled faintly. She's beautiful, docile, and comes from a respectable family, but she's dull and uninteresting. The perfect candidate to be Mrs. Ju. Indeed, Sister Hanji really has no flaws to pick on. Precisely because there are no flaws to pick on, she's uninteresting. If you're so disdainful, then just call off the engagement. Someone suddenly spoke up, their tone laced with sarcasm. Tingxiao. Jason was somewhat surprised. Tyler let out a cold laugh. After all, their family is the one reaching above their station by marrying into your Ju family. What are you afraid of? The atmosphere froze for a moment. Someone quickly stepped in to smooth things over. The wedding date is already set. There's no point in bringing this up now. Besides, Sister Hanji is a good person, and Brother Sen's matters are all in the past. Come on. Let's drink and not bring up those old grudges. Jason frowned. Did you eat gunpowder? Or is your old man forcing you into marriage, and you're taking it out on me? Tyler set down his glass. You think I'd fall for that forced marriage crap? Then where's all this pent-up rage coming from? Want me to hook you up with a girl to blow off some steam? Tyler also laughed. Sure, but you'll have to pick one that meets my standards. Tell me, what kind are you looking for? Tyler leaned back in his chair, his posture relaxed and carefree. Even if I told you, you wouldn't be able to find it. Jason seemed even more determined. I'm going to find it for you today no matter what. Just tell me. Tyler slowly raised his eyes to look at Jason. Unlike Jason's gentle handsomeness, he exuded a lazy, decadent masculinity, more potent than the strongest liquor. That's unfortunate. She's married too. Jason startled, suddenly cursed under his breath. You did that on purpose, didn't you? Tyler remained silent for a while before letting out a self-deprecating laugh. Let's not talk about it, let's drink. He poured a full glass and downed it in one gulp. Laughter and chatter filled the air once more. The topic was tacitly shifted away. In the end, I still didn't push the door open. Accusations, noise, entanglements, none of it matters. Men would think it's all in the past before marriage, nothing serious. Elders would consider it making a mountain out of a molehill. Nothing is more important than uniting 2 families. I stumbled unevenly across the carpet, until stepping into the elevator and leaning against its cool metal wall. Yet what still echoed in my ears were Jason's few words. She's beautiful, docile, dull, uninteresting, the most suitable candidate to be Mrs. Ju. I suddenly smiled soundlessly, looking at myself in the mirror again. The same faint eyebrows and eyes, but the pupils were no longer bright. No matter how hard I tried, the dimples at the corners of my lips would never appear again. This is insipid, as monotonous as Hannah, the sweet white porcelain, dull, docile, without temper or personality Hannah. The most perfect marriage alliance tool cultivated by the family, a tool whose joys and sorrows no one would care about. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Jason drove over to pick me up at home for dinner. My parents were all smiles, warm and happy. My sisters at home watched with joy and envy as I came downstairs wearing new jewelry. This set of jewelry was specially delivered this morning by Jason's people. There are still 3 weeks until the wedding. Everything is progressing smoothly and orderly. If I were to call off the engagement now, I would immediately be labeled the villain by both families. I look at Jason. He remains as handsome and charming as ever, peerless in his elegance. His eyes gazing at me are filled with tenderness. My best friend once told me, "It's already good enough if a man is willing to put on an act, it would be best if they could act it out for a lifetime. Because in the end, all relationships and marriages turn out the same way, Hanji." Jason reached out his hand to me. He was smiling, but deep in his eyes was indifference. "I knew this jewelry set would suit you perfectly the moment I saw it." He held my hand, his eyes filled with admiration. I let him embrace me as I gracefully bid farewell to my family. He gallantly helped me into the car. I went to that expensive and terrible restaurant with him again. Just as we were halfway through the meal, his phone suddenly vibrated. I watched as he picked up his phone. His expression subtly changing. My mind is as clear as a mirror, reflecting both his absurdity and my own misery. I set down my knife and fork, asking softly, "Is something the matter?" "I'm sorry, Hanji, it's something at the company." He hesitated, looking at me with some difficulty, as if waiting for me to say the answer he wanted. "Then you should go quickly. Company matters are important." He frowned, glanced at his watch, and added, "No rush, I'll take you home first, it's okay. You go ahead, I'll just take Coco shopping at the mall later." Jason seemed to let out a slight sigh of relief. "All right then, make sure to let me know when you get home." As he spoke, he stood up but then leaned down to give me a light kiss on the forehead. "I'll spend the whole weekend with you." I didn't go shopping at the mall, just aimlessly wandering the streets alone. As a child, I was a well-behaved girl. Now grown up, I'm the epitome of an elegant lady. I feel as if I'm wrapped in layers upon layers of thick cocoons, airless, unable to break free no matter how hard I struggle. There's a string in my heart that's been taut for over 20 years. When that string tightens to the point of suffocation, I suddenly remembered the WeChat message Chloe sent me a few days ago. Her young boyfriend was speeding down the racetrack on his motorcycle with her riding behind. She said, "Hanji, after 3 years of marriage, this is the first time I've felt so free. If men can keep songbirds as pets, why should we stay widowed for that rotten cucumber? Hanji, seize the day and enjoy life." I also went to that racing club, with all preparations complete. Instructor led me over. Suddenly, someone called my name, "Hannah." I turned around in surprise and saw Tyler leaning against his motorcycle. He was just removing his helmet, lifting a hand to push back the hair from his forehead. His sharp eyebrows and eyes were revealed, carrying an untamed arrogance. I nodded politely and was about to leave. Tyler spoke up again. "You want to learn?" I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah." He glanced at instructor. "I'll teach her. You go ahead with your work." I was somewhat surprised and looked at Tyler. He was leaning against the motorcycle, with broad shoulders, long legs, and a tall, powerful frame. The overwhelming scent of intense masculine hormones hit me like a wave. I instinctively averted my gaze, yet couldn't help but lightly bite my lip. For some inexplicable reason, my heart fluttered uneasily. "Let's go, I'll take you for a couple of laps first." Tyler handed me a helmet. I wanted to refuse, but when his long, strong hand reached out to me, yet somehow I found myself taking the helmet. After getting on, I kept Tyler at the maximum distance possible. He propped his long legs on the ground, fastening the helmet buckle, while glancing at me through the rearview mirror. "Want to go flying later? Hold onto my waist." I bit my lip again, reached out, and gently grabbed his racing suit. Tyler laughed but didn't say anything more. He was clearly holding back during the first lap. By the second lap, he gradually picked up speed. When the speed surged, I was so frightened that I threw myself against his back, clutching his waist tightly, beneath my arms. His scorching, hard muscles suddenly tensed. A fierce wind howled past us. Tyler's slightly hoarse voice was carried to my ears by the wind. "Hannah," he coughed lightly. "You're holding on too tight." I suddenly realized something, yet I didn't dare let go because of the extreme speed. I could only try my best to hunch my shoulders, attempting to avoid that overly intimate contact. But Tyler suddenly slowed down and came to a stop at the end of the track. He took off his helmet, turned around, and lifted me off the motorcycle. It was my first time experiencing racing, and my legs were completely weak when I got off. Tyler reached out and steadied my waist with a firm grip. Hannah, the surrounding light was not very bright. Through the goggles, I could clearly see the smoldering fire in his eyes. It was an expression Jason I had never seen on his face before, an overwhelming possessiveness at its extreme. I couldn't help but step back. Yet the large hand around my waist suddenly tightened its grip. Instinctively, I took a step forward and stumbled into Tyler's arms. With a click, he unfastened the helmet's buckle. As the helmet came off, the wind instantly scattered the hair at my temples. I reflexively tilted my face up, about to reach up and brush it aside. Tyler was a step ahead of me. His slightly calloused fingers brushed aside the disheveled strands of hair at my temple, just as I came to my senses and tried to dodge. He lowered his head and kissed me directly. He kissed decisively, dominantly, as if he wouldn't give me the slightest chance to resist or push him away. My lips parted, my tongue sucked by his. His kissing technique was somewhat clumsy, making it a bit painful for me. I frowned, and his movements slowed again. A slightly rough palm cupped my face. His fingertips brushed against my cheek and the side of my ear. In an instant, a surge of electricity ignited. I was lifted by him again and placed on the motorcycle, his sturdy and upright body pressed against me. The volcano was about to collapse, suppressing everything. My heart raced, yet I felt flustered and at a loss, as his kiss fell again. My tears slowly welled up. Hannah, Tyler kissed the tears on my face, yet his voice was gentler than ever before. Are you unhappy today? Tears welled up in my eyes as I turned my face away, yet his hand followed, cupping my face and refusing to let go. My lashes fluttered, tears tracing down my cheeks into his palm. Still, I stubbornly refused to admit it. I'm just hungry. I had a terrible dinner tonight, didn't eat enough, and I feel awful. He froze for a moment, then looked at me and smiled. Lowering his head again, he kissed away the tears on my eyelashes. Come on, let's go get you something delicious to eat. Are we riding this there? It's chilly at night. I'll drive. He naturally took my hand. I tried to pull away, but couldn't free myself. He gripped my hand a little tighter. As soon as we got in the car, Tyler's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, looked at me, and answered the call. Yuzan, what's up? Calling you out for drinks. Jason's voice sounded somewhat down. Tyler curled his lips, but his voice couldn't hide the joy. Got plans tonight? You should ask Chen-dong and the others. You're single. What could possibly be so important? Hurry up, really can't. I've got something to do, Tyler said as he casually turned on some music, then turned to ask me, which kind do you want to hear? Before I could speak, Jason exploded over there. Tyler, who are you asking? You didn't bring a girl, did you? Tyler did admit it, but didn't deny it either. Jason clearly got interested. No way. Didn't you say the person you love is already married? You didn't actually ask someone else's wife out, did you? Tyler raised an eyebrow and lightly responded with an Holy shit, Jason's voice rose an octave. Don't tell me you're being the other woman. Tyler glanced at me sideways. If it's her, being the other man isn't entirely out of the question. No way. Are you serious? You're actually dating someone else's wife. Which poor bastard is unlucky enough to get cuckolded by you? Tyler chose a lively tune before leisurely asking. So eager to know. Nonsense. Hurry up and tell me. What kind of celestial beauty could make young Master Lu willingly become the other man? Can't say. Tyler leaned back in the car seat, a roguish smile playing at the corner of his lips. She's married. It wouldn't be good for her reputation if word got out. Jason fell silent for a moment. When he spoke again, there was still doubt in his voice. Wait, are you just making this up to mess with me? Or is this for real, after knowing you for so long? How come I've never heard a whisper about this? You kept it completely under wraps too, Tyler sneered. Besides, is it something to be proud of? Fair point, Jason responded somewhat sheepishly. I'll hang up now, let's catch up another day. Alright, won't keep you from your romantic night any longer. After hanging up the phone, he started the car and asked me, what do you want to eat? I gazed at the night scenery outside the car window, but my mind was still wandering aimlessly. I had overheard most of their conversation earlier, but truthfully, I didn't really believe it. Tyler, this guy comes from a good family and has a proud temperament. In the entire capital city, his arrogance and unrestrained nature are truly one of a kind. His family's patriarch has often disciplined him with a cane. If he likes someone, there's no way he'd just watch her marry someone else. Why did he make up such a lie? I can't figure it out either, but it has nothing to do with me. Perhaps tonight is the only intersection we'll ever have. Let's go to see university. There's a food street there that I loved going to when I was in school. Alright. As he stepped on the accelerator, Tyler glanced at me again. Fasten your seatbelt. I quickly looked down to check. Her loose long hair cascaded down, swaying gently before landing on his arm. I lifted my hand to brush my hair aside, but suddenly, I spotted a white camellia hair tie in the center console storage compartment. It looks familiar, because I have a pair of hair ties just like these. Later, I accidentally lost one of them. But these hair ties aren't anything special anyway. It went viral online for a while last year, so it might just be Tyler's leftover item from one of his female companions. I slowly straightened up, calmly looking ahead, yet I couldn't help but raise my hand, brushing the slightly swollen lips with the back of it. But he was clearly quite inexperienced when he kissed just now. I don't know why such inexplicable thoughts popped into my head. I couldn't help but shake my head lightly in self-mockery. What does it have to do with me anyway? Tonight is just a wild dream I indulged in. Hannah, don't you have anything to ask me? Tyler glanced at me sideways, then looked back at the road ahead. My gaze fell on his large hands gripping the steering wheel. His hands were beautiful, with distinct knuckles, rugged and powerful. Not the pampered hands of a spoiled young master. I have a bit of a hand fetish. Thinking back to the moment when he wrapped his arm around my waist and kissed me, I couldn't help but imagine that if he were to bring both hands together, they'd probably fit perfectly around my waist. Won't you ask me who that person is? I instinctively asked. Who is it? Tyler smiled and said, who do you think? I sat there stunned, and after a while, a buzzing noise suddenly filled my ears. Even the lively music gradually faded from hearing. The red light turned on. A long 78 seconds, the car came to a stop. Tyler reached out and gently grasped mine. Hannah, I was going to take this secret to my grave if I hadn't seen you here tonight. Why? Tyler didn't answer, just held my hand very tightly. Why were you unhappy today? How did you know I was unhappy? You're not like this when you're happy. He turned his face to look at me. Hannah, when you came in earlier, you were like a wandering ghost, like a porcelain vase teetering on the edge of a shelf. If I hadn't called out to you, you would have fallen and shattered. Suddenly, my nose stung, and tears came rolling down. He let go, turned my face towards him, and tried to kiss away my tears, but the traffic light turned green, and the cars behind us started honking furiously. His expression turned to annoyance in an instant. I couldn't help but laugh. Just drive already. Tyler still found a spot to pull the car over. He unbuckled his seatbelt and leaned over to cup my face in his hands. Hannah, don't cry in front of me. Am I not even allowed to cry? Tyler slowly lowered his head and kissed my wet cheeks. I can't take it anymore. Hannah, I can't stand seeing you cry the most. His kisses trailed downward, landing on my swollen lips. This time I won't hurt you. Haven't you ever kissed before? Tyler, he didn't answer, only suddenly deepened the kiss. That night Tyler took me to that food street, accompanied me as I ate from one end to the other. Those street food stalls, I hadn't touched them in so long. I want to try everything, but I can't finish it all. In the end, what was left was all eaten by Tyler. Later, he drove me back. When we were a few minutes away from home, I asked him to stop the car. Tyler, I ate so many delicious things I've been craving tonight. I'm not feeling so sad anymore. Thank you for being with me tonight. But, no buts, Hannah, nothing good ever comes after but. Tyler did he look at me. He just gazed calmly at the pitch-black night and the empty, deserted street ahead. Yet the expression on his face was no longer the familiar arrogance and sharpness I knew. After a long while, he finally smiled self-deprecatingly and said, "You should go." I lowered my head and glanced once more at the white camellia hair tie. She pursed her lips lightly. "Then I'll go. Drive carefully on your way back." The car door opened, And I got out. When closing the door, I didn't dare to look back. After walking a few steps, I couldn't resist turning around for one last glance. The car window rolled down, and I locked eyes with Tyler. He just looked at me like that. Calm on the surface, but turbulent beneath, that overwhelming possessiveness. It seemed on the verge of bursting forth. I turned around in panic and hurried forward as if fleeing blindly. I am a coward. I lack the courage to fight against my entire family and societal norms. I dare not even try, like a lovesick girl of 18, easily placing her bet on a man. I could only watch the fire pit before me, close my eyes, and jump in. The wedding date was drawing near. Jason's mood seemed to be getting worse and worse. 2 days before the wedding, while discussing some bridal procession details at my home, he kept receiving phone calls non-stop. I sat in the living room with my parents and relatives. Jason was on the phone for a long time outside under the eaves. My parents were eager to please this golden son-in-law. They kept urging me to bring him tea and snacks. The first time I went out, Jason was a bit impatient but still relatively gentle in his attitude. The second time I was urged to bring him tea again, I had just softly called out to him. He suddenly turned around, his face full of hostility, and growled fiercely. I said no, can't you fucking stop bothering me? As his words fell, he raised his hand and knocked the teacup from my grasp. The birds in the nearby cage fluttered their wings in fright, too scared to chirp. The teacup shattered, splashing tea everywhere, and my hand turned red from the scalding. Yet that pain was nothing compared to the heavy blow to my heart, like a sharp chisel being hammered into flesh. The lively chatter and laughter behind me suddenly stopped. My parents looked terrified, the relatives wore varied expressions. The sisters who used to bicker over pretty dresses out of petty jealousy, now all turned pale, looking at me with helpless concern. My back burned as if on fire. My teeth sank into the soft flesh of my lips, nearly biting through until blood welled up. The tea spilled, wetting the hem of my skirt and the cuffs of his pants, from his ongoing call. A woman's voice could be heard repeatedly calling his name. Jason finally snapped back to reality. Yet, he frowned first. A moment later, a look of regret appeared on his face. Sorry, Hanji, I shouldn't have lashed out at you. Did it burn you? While putting away his phone, he took my hand. But I instinctively took a step back. Jason immediately darkened his expression. My parents had somehow come out unnoticed. Seeing this, they quickly nudged me. Hanji, Yuzin didn't mean to. Couples have their little quarrels all the time. Don't be unreasonable. With that, he turned to Jason with an apologetic smile. He quickly called a servant to help wipe the tea stains off Jason's pants. Jason smiled as if mocking, though it was very faint and fleeting, yet I distinctly caught that hint of a smile. In that instant, it was as if I had just awakened. Actually, I exist in Jason's, no different from the birds in this cage. He's willing, giving me a smile and a few gentle words. When he's in a bad mood, being scolded or hit is the norm, even if my parents or relatives are right beside us. He's never shown the slightest concern or care. If I marry him, this would be a scene that would play out countless times in ordinary days to come, and this, perhaps, is just the most insignificant beginning. Alright, everyone, stop what you're doing. Jason waved his hand, signaling the servants to leave. My parents stood aside, still cautious and uneasy. Jason didn't look at them, instead reaching out to pull me along. Go change your clothes, there's a gathering tonight. We're eating out. He was all smiles again, gentle and considerate as ever. My parents seemed to let out a huge sigh of relief and joined in the laughter, chiming in with agreement. I wanted to shake off his hand. I wanted to tear off the nauseating mask of hypocrisy from his face. But in the end, I didn't do it. I was just the same as always, the Hannah without temper or emotions, dull and docile. I nodded and turned to go upstairs to change clothes. After changing into a new dress, I fixed my hair in front of the mirror. The mirror reflected a face as pale as an incandescent light. Her cheeks were burning with a deep crimson, her features remained delicate and understated. Yet within those dark pupils flickered a faint spark of fire. I knew this tiny ember was about to ignite a wildfire. I picked up my phone. In WeChat, Tyler's messages still lay quietly in the chat window. The last one was him asking me, Hannah, I have a wedding gift for you. Do you dare to accept it? I never replied to him. It's been over 2 weeks since he sent the message. I stared at the screen for quite a while, sent Tyler a reply. Are you going to the party tonight? He took a while to respond. You want me to go? So I should. I froze for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh. Forget it if you're not coming. After a few more minutes, Tyler replied, Hannah, can't you just ask me one more time? I couldn't help but smile. So, are you coming tonight or not? He hesitated for a few seconds. If you come, I'll come. The smile on my lips deepened. Then we'll see each other later. The dialogue box kept showing typing, but after a long time, he only replied with one word, okay. When Jason and I arrived, most of our friends had already come, but Tyler was nowhere to be seen. I sat beside Jason, like an inconspicuous shadow of his, and he, clearly satisfied with my understanding and propriety today, personally poured me a cup of tea. When handing it over, that handsome face rarely wore a genuine smile. He lowered his voice and said, Honey, this cup of tea is my apology. My stomach churned violently. Yet, I managed to force a faint smile on my face. I reached out to take it and took a small sip. Jason smiled with a hint of smugness. He leaned back comfortably, resting one arm on the back of my chair, then deliberately pulled me closer in a show of familiarity. Just at that moment, Tyler pushed the door open and walked in. I instinctively looked up. His gaze was also fixed on my face, but only for a brief moment before it shifted away. I slowly lowered my head as well. He seems to have just gotten a haircut. The new hairstyle is a bit short but sharply styled. It accentuates his well-defined facial features even more. He also appears to have lost some weight. He wore a black windbreaker and cargo pants, which made his tall and slender figure even more striking. Yet his demeanor was even more sharp and untamed. It didn't seem like he was here for a friends gathering, as if they were going to a gang fight. I raised my hand and cooled my burning ears with the back of it. Jason had already started asking, Where have you been fooling around these days? Haven't seen you for half a month. Tyler found a single sofa and sat down in a domineering manner. His long legs were stretched out wide with a somewhat wild abandon. Hearing this, he lifted his eyelids and glanced at Jason. Got something to say? Another date? Jason teased. The crowd immediately perked up. What date? With whom? Are you two speaking in riddles? Let him speak for himself. Tyler curled his lips slightly, his gaze sweeping past me before settling on Jason's face. Or would you like to say it together? Jason's expression changed, instinctively glancing at me before quickly changing the subject. When men get together, it's all about bragging and drinking. These young masters are no exception. I lowered my head, idly stirring the soup in my bowl. Then my phone vibrated. I glanced at Jason, who was drinking, and quietly opened my phone. Tyler, what happened to your hand? I looked at the slightly reddened area on the back of my hand. There were no blisters or peeling skin, so neither my family nor Jason asked a single question. I didn't expect Tyler to notice. A faint ache welled up in my chest. I accidentally burned myself. Did you apply the medicine? Does it still hurt? It's fine. It doesn't hurt much anymore. Tyler took a while to reply. Hannah, have you always been habitually sacrificing yourself like this all these years? I couldn't help but look up at Tyler. Beneath his sharp eyebrows, there was an unexpectedly soft glow in his eyes. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Before this, I had Tyler basically had very little contact. Our first meeting was at the engagement party for Jason and me. Only now do I belatedly remember. Actually, that day I also had Jason a little upset with me. At the time, I thought it was all my fault. I must have annoyed him. Actually, the reason he's upset is probably still because of that woman he loved so deeply. I was completely in the dark at that time. So Jason just comforted me a little, and I quickly became happy again. That was the first time I drank alcohol, when slightly tipsy. The other side of me, usually suppressed, peeked out a little. The dinner party was lively, and I was coaxed into dancing with Jason's friends. One by one, only Tyler did dance with me. I had just finished dancing. Mrs. Jew immediately had someone call me over. Though she spared my feelings, she still scolded me with a stern face. When I went out again, I didn't dare to laugh or make noise. I sat properly on the side. I remember Tyler asking me at the time, "Why aren't you playing anymore?" I'm a bit tired. I forced a smile, not daring to reveal my fear and grievances. Tyler, did T say anything more either? Naturally, I didn't speak to him either. He doesn't look like someone easy to approach. An air of arrogance and defiance cultivated in a privileged family, that kind of haughtiness that makes everyone beneath his notice. Jason said he's notoriously wild and difficult. I naturally developed some prejudice against him. But later, he brought me a cup of warm honey water. Drink it. You'll feel better. I didn't refuse and took it, sipping it slowly. But at that moment, I was foolishly thinking to myself, how wonderful it would be if this glass of honey water were given to me by Jason. The gathering was just halfway through. Jason's phone started ringing frequently again. The time he spent outside answering phone calls grew longer each time. Later, he simply didn't return at all. He only gave me a perfunctory phone call, saying he had an urgent matter and asked the driver to take me back. I hadn't even managed to respond when the call was abruptly ended. But then, another unknown number sent me a message. It contained only a pregnancy test report and an appointment slip for an abortion procedure. I look at these things, and yet I can still sit here steadily. I just thought, oh, in my heart, Sonia's been so upset during this time, because she is pregnant with his child again. She is going to abort their child again. I kept the message, grabbed the bag and stood up. While walking out, Tyler received a message. I'm leaving. Are you coming? Tyler drove me back to his villa in the Beijing suburbs. On the way, he stopped to buy some ointments. There's medicine for burns, and also for pain relief and soothing. Apply some ointment, it'll make you feel better. After he handed me the ointment, we didn't talk much along the way. The car drove from the bustling city center toward the desolate outskirts. I gazed out the window at the deep blue sky, devoid of stars, yet my mind was completely blank. It felt as though I were sitting in a small boat, drifting aimlessly with the current. I don't care where we go, and it doesn't matter if we stop or not. I don't want to deal with anything anymore. That suffocating cocoon that binds me, it's choking me to death. I just want to rush out, even if it's just once. The car stops. Tyler comes over and opens the car door for me. We still don't speak. But he held my hand. We quietly walked through the small garden and across the lawn, arriving at the pale gray building. Tyler stopped and turned to look at me. Hannah, if you regret it now, there's still time. His voice sounded calm and composed, yet the emotion in his eyes was a solitary determination to succeed. Suddenly, I tilted my head and smiled. Taking a step forward, I leaned in to look at his face. His lips were pressed into a tight line, and his Adam's apple bobbed violently. He probably didn't realize how tightly he was gripping my hand. His palm was covered in a fine layer of sweat. He was extremely nervous. Are you nervous, Tyler? He shook his head, then cursed under his breath, but ultimately nodded in admission. I pulled my hand free from his grasp. Tyler subconsciously wanted to hold on again, but I stood on tiptoe, wrapped my arms around his neck, and kissed him first. Sadly, my first boyfriend, who is also my fiancé, the would-be groom, Jason. He was not a virgin, so I don't have any experience in this regard, and Jason, he doesn't really like me either. After we got engaged, we did have intimate relations, but it was only a few hurried times. I have some experience in sex, but not much. But facing Tyler, I think it should be enough. However, reality always differs somewhat from imagination. We kissed all the way from downstairs to the master bedroom on the second floor. As soon as the bedroom door closed, Tyler impatiently pulled off my thin knit cardigan. It was late summer weather, so underneath, I was only wearing a fitted knit wrap dress. The dress was very stretchy and as white as mutton fat jade. It almost blends seamlessly with my skin. I'm not particularly tall, and my frame is quite petite. My waist is slender enough, but my chest isn't very full. Jason once teased me about it in jest. Therefore, I often feel somewhat insecure about my bust size. But Tyler's reaction actually pleased me. He pressed me against the door, kissing me with a mix of urgency and barely restrained roughness. I lightly punched him and then bit him, breathing heavily. He moved his kisses to my ear. Hanji, you're just like this jade gourd. His sudden remark left me somewhat puzzled. It wasn't until he gently nibbled my earlobe that I remembered. Today I was wearing a pair of jade gourd earrings. The lustrous white jade was exquisitely carved with delicate craftsmanship. My cheeks instantly flushed with a faint blush, just as I was lost in thought. Tyler wrapped his arm around my waist and pulled me tightly into his embrace. Our bodies pressed close together, soft and hard pressed together, like perfectly fitted wooden tenons. He lowered his head, burying his face in my cold, dark strands of hair, pulling my body tighter, ever tighter, into the embrace of his chest. Hanji, do you know what I was thinking when you hugged me from behind that day? What were you thinking? At that moment, my mind was filled with nothing but filthy thoughts. I wanted to kiss you, to have you, crazily so. I hit him again. Tyler laughed softly by my ear. Hanji, don't believe all that nonsense motivational talk. A man who has no desire for you doesn't truly love you. He gently pushed me away, then cupped my face in his hands. His gaze grew more intense with each passing moment, an unbridled desire to possess, unconcealed. The scorching intensity of his stare made me tremble uncontrollably, too overwhelming to meet directly. Yet from the deepest recesses of my being, a wild craving surged forth, the thick cocoon, its cracks widening ever more. My lashes trembled lightly as I slowly closed my eyes. Amidst the dizzying whirl, Tyler had already lifted and pinned me onto the large bed. Actually, during those previous kisses and embraces, I had already clearly sensed his impressive endowment. I couldn't help feeling slightly fearful in my heart, but what I never expected was, he had just removed my skirt. We haven't even reached the point of complete nakedness yet. He had just embraced and kissed those little jade gourds, then his expression suddenly changed. Immediately after, I caught that peculiar scent, musky yet not quite musk. I froze for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh. Tyler. I laughed until I was out of breath, so I completely failed to notice. The desire in his eyes had already become terrifying, like a raging storm. Hannah, he hoarsely called my name. His scorching palm gripped my waist and flipped me over. Once more, he leaned down, his burning, firm chest pressing tightly against my slender back. Amidst the tousled strands of hair, he kissed my shoulder. Hanji. His voice carried an inexplicable mix of grievance and bashful frustration. Just looking at you makes me lose control. This time, let's try this position. But clearly, he had overestimated himself again. Fortunately, this time we still have at least 10 minutes. I couldn't help but want to laugh again. Tyler kissed me hard, threatening with a stern but weak tone. Hanji, don't you dare laugh. All right, I won't laugh. I gently embraced him, my fingertips gliding over the firm, taut muscles of his back, then they trailed down to his slender waist. Tyler has an exceptionally impressive physique, far more Jason's muscles look in comparison. He's not the kind of show-off. Those smooth, lean muscles are all genuinely earned through hard work. I couldn't take my hands off his abs, so when he quickly regained his composure, I didn't even realize it. Hanji, Tyler lifted me onto his lap. He lowered his head to kiss my delicate eyelids. Like an obedient student, he said earnestly, "This time I'll take longer to make you feel good." I didn't take it seriously at the time. With a smile and a nod, I said, "Sure." But soon, I couldn't laugh anymore. The third time, Tyler was practically a perpetual motion machine. What was even more terrifying was that he quickly mastered quite a few techniques, no longer like before, only charging straight ahead recklessly. The small jade gourd by my ear was as if in a gale. It almost shook into a blur. My consciousness gradually grew hazy. All I heard was Tyler hoarsely asking in my ear, "Hanji, tell me, who am I?" I answered groggily, "Tyler, Yuri Tyler." "Hanji, was it good this time?" I struggled to open my eyes, only to have his lips capture my swollen ones again. The answer that spilled from between lips and teeth was also fragmented and indistinct. "Feels good, Tyler. If it feels good, then never leave me." Okay, if it were the 18-year-old me, or perhaps 3 weeks ago, I might still have believed a little in vows like forever and ever. But now, I just held Tyler's face and kissed him. Aren't we happy enough right now? My body and soul are truly happy. But when it was all over, Tyler carried me to take a bath. Then took the cigarette pack and went to the balcony. I'm so exhausted that I just want to stay curled up in bed and not move. Tyler seems a bit down, I can tell, but I don't know what to say to him. amidst this chaotic whirl of thoughts, I unexpectedly fell into a deep sleep. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in Tyler's arms. His arm was firmly wrapped around my waist. In my sleep, he held me tightly. I didn't move, just quietly watched him for quite a while. A faint realization stirred within me. I think I prefer Tyler's type of handsome, masculine features more. It's just that our fate is too shallow and comes too late. I gently moved his arm away, wanting to get up from the bed. Tyler was startled awake and immediately held me tight again. "Hannah, where are you going?" "I should go back." "Go back for what?" "To marry him." I didn't tell Tyler. "I don't want to marry Jason. I won't marry Jason either. This is my own business." It's not because I had a relationship with Tyler, nor is it because I thought I had a way out. I just couldn't tolerate these grains of sand anymore, nor did I want to cling to ridiculous hopes, hoping that in the long journey of life ahead, the grating sands may be polished into pearls. I gently pry open Tyler's fingers. I turn to look at him. The warmth of spring still lingers in my eyes. Yet it carried a fading chill. "Tyler, I really like this wedding gift." He couldn't help but smile, reaching out to pull me into his embrace again. "Since you like it so much, shall we do it again?" But I shook my head. I should go back now. Today will be very busy, with many trivial things to take care of. "Hannah." Tyler slowly sat up. "Did you think this was the gift I wanted to give you? Did you think I just wanted a fleeting romance with you? As long as you agree, I'll take care of everything that follows for you. But I don't need it." I looked at Tyler calmly yet distantly. "Let's stop here, okay?" He gazed at me quietly, those unruly eyes seemingly turning dim. About half a minute seemed to pass. Tyler suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. "Then tell me, what did last night mean to you?" "Last night I was very happy." "Tyler, I owe you one." I stood up, barely suppressing the sudden surge of bitterness rising in my heart, and barely holding back my tears. I forced a carefree smile at him, gave him another gentle hug. "If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely repay you." I put on my clothes, freshened up briefly, and left. Tyler didn't stop me, nor did he come after me. When I reached downstairs, his driver was there. I didn't refuse and let him take me home. Time passed in the blink of an eye. Tomorrow is the wedding day for Jason and me. Everyone at home was overjoyed. But in private, when my sisters pulled me aside for some girl talk, I still couldn't hold back those worries. "Sis, I used to envy you so much. I really wanted to get married, but now I don't want to at all. I think Jason's not as good as I previously thought. I suddenly feel terrified of marriage." "Sis, can you not marry him?" The youngest sister handed me her favorite earrings. "I won't fight with you for things anymore. Sister, please don't get married. He's so fierce, he dares to yell at you and even hit you in our own home." "What if he hits you after you marry him?" I pulled my little sister into my arms, tears streaming down uncontrollably. "I am the eldest sister in the family. Every girl in the family is raised and molded according to my path. They vaguely see their own future reflected in me. That's why they suddenly grow up, feeling a sense of shared sorrow. Don't worry about me. Big sister has a way." I gently stroked my younger sister's soft hair by her temples. "Trust me." On the wedding day, the weather was perfect. Jason looked truly handsome and dashing, full of high spirits when he came to fetch the bride. The sisters cried their eyes out, but I was still blushing shyly as he carried me into the wedding car. The motorcade headed towards the estate where the wedding would take place. As we drove through the wide-open gates, outside, a sudden commotion arose. Jason frowned unhappily and looked out the car window. I, however, lowered my head and faintly curled my lips. Inside the room, the atmosphere had become unbearably tense. That always aloof, rigid, and stern Mrs. Jew. At this moment, she was pursing her lips tightly, her face pale with anger. Jason had a bruise on his forehead and was sitting dejectedly on the sofa. Mr. Jew's face was livid as he paced back and forth with his hands clasped behind his back. Such a joyous occasion today. Half the city's news reportershave rushed here upon hearing the news. If at this moment Jason's scandal of having an affair with a married woman and impregnating her were to spread, her husband, though not from a family as prestigious as the Jews, still had some assets and naturally couldn't swallow this insult. Now has hired a bunch of people to livestream their demand for justice at the wedding venue. If I, the bride-to-be, join in the uproar and stage a last-minute rejection, it would be quite a scene. The Jew family is about to become the laughingstock of the entire city today. The auspicious time for the wedding is almost here. What should we do now? What should we do? It's your precious son who committed such a disgraceful act, worse than pigs and dogs, and you're asking me what to do, Mrs. Jew suddenly looked as if she had aged 20 years. She didn't dare to talk back and looked at me again. Hunji, I think there might be some misunderstanding here. Who knows who's behind this? Giving that bastard ideas and showing him the way. Deliberately trying to harm our Jew family, Mr. Jew sneered angrily. If your precious son could keep his pants on, would anyone have been able to harm our Jew family? I told you back then that woman was a troublemaker with her seductive ways, and I told you to cut ties with her completely, but you just wouldn't listen. Now that you've made a mess, are you sober? Jason leaned on the sofa without saying a word. The one he loved deeply was Rose. After the truth came out, she immediately had an abortion. She tearfully claimed she was coerced by his threats to expose their intimate photos and videos from their past relationship. Jason thought it was mutual affection, believing she was hopelessly in love with him and couldn't forget him. In the end, he was brutally slapped by the woman he loved. His entire mindset was on the verge of collapsing. I sat quietly to the side, but in my heart, I thought Mrs. Jew was quite shrewd. Actually, she wasn't wrong in her guess. Jason and Rose had an affair and got pregnant, planning to secretly have the child and pass it off as her husband's. Yet Rose, consumed by jealousy and resentment, secretly sent me photos before the wedding to provoke me. As for me, I didn't go looking for Rose, I simply had someone find Rose's husband. His wife had placed such a green hat on his head. The man naturally couldn't swallow this insult. The Jew family was someone they couldn't afford to provoke. So I had someone point him to this brilliant path. After the deed was done, he would receive a hefty hush money and dump Rose. And me, I slowly raised my eyes and looked at Mrs. Jew. The auspicious time is almost here. Any further delay will only make things harder to resolve. How about this? I'll go meet that person and talk to him myself. Actually, the Jew family had already tried every possible way to negotiate with that person, but that person simply didn't care anymore, refusing to listen to anyone or meet with anyone, completely unyielding. However, word got out that they were only willing to talk to the bride. Of course, the Jew family had no face to make such a request to me, but now that I've taken the initiative to bring it up, Father Jew was instantly overjoyed. Jason also immediately sat up straight. He was visibly moved and surprised. Hunji, you're not angry with me? I raised my hand and pressed my slightly reddened eyes. Of course I'm angry. But the bigger picture matters more. I stood up, choking back another sob. But I have one condition, Mr. Jew quickly responded. Good child, just name it. Whatever I can do, I'll agree to. I nodded. Then I'll go try first. If it works out, I'll come to you with my request. Half an hour later, I turned back, my eyelids slightly swollen from crying. They're willing to let it go, saying it's out of sympathy for sharing the same misfortune as me. I spoke again between sobs, tears falling. Mrs. Jew hurriedly offered words of comfort. I cried for a while before stopping, then said with difficulty, "It's just that the amount is a bit much. Give it to him. Give it to him." Father Jew made the final decision, then fiercely scolded Jason, "It's all because of you. You beast, after the wedding is over, I'll settle the total score with you." He then spoke to me gently again. "By the way, Hanji, feel free to mention any conditions you just spoke of." I looked up at him and Mrs. Jew, "My condition is simple. I will cooperate to complete the wedding, and I hope you, Uncle Jew, will honor our previous agreement to support the Jong family in business dealings from now on." "Don't worry, I mean what I say," Mr. Jew replied very readily. 6 months later, please allow me to terminate my marital relationship with Jason. As for the reason for divorce, you can make up anything. As long as it doesn't slander me, I'll accept it. I will take everything that happened today to my grave, but the Jew family must compensate me, not to the Jong family, but to me alone, Hannah said. Jason suddenly stood up. "Hanji, what do you mean by this?" "My meaning is quite clear. I'm willing to help the Jew family weather today's storm. Settle the matter peacefully, and ensure this wedding concludes perfectly, leaving everyone with dignity. But this is all I can do. If you agree, we can put it in black and white right now." Jason stared at me for a long moment as if seeing me for the first time. After a long silence, Father Ju finally let out a deep sigh and agreed, "You've suffered enough in all this, Hanji, I promise you." Father Ju sighed again, shaking his head dejectedly. "Yuzhen just wasn't fortunate enough. Or perhaps his fortune lies ahead of him." I smiled, feeling as if a massive weight had been lifted from my heart, and exhaled deeply in relief. The earlier commotion passed like a breeze, leaving no trace. The wedding concluded perfectly. The bride remained serene and radiant with her gentle smile throughout. Yet the groom seemed somewhat absent-minded all along. But no matter what, from an outsider's perspective, it was still an absolutely perfect wedding. After getting married, Jason and I moved into our marital home. But we started living separately from our wedding night. Actually, at the very beginning, Jason had thought about improving our marital relationship. He did treat me with much more care than before, but after hitting several walls, he seemed to have given up on the idea. On the day I got married, Tyler did not attend the wedding. I never saw him again after that. Occasionally, I'd hear news about him, always wandering from one beautiful island to another. At a friend's gathering once, someone mentioned him. We immediately video called him. He was out at sea fishing at the time. He had gotten much tanner, he's gotten a bit thinner, but his muscles have become even more solid and defined. He's casually wearing a black tank top and cargo pants. With a cigarette between his lips, he lies on the deck. The entire person appeared unrestrained and uninhibited on the phone screen. Friends greeted him one by one. As the camera panned past me, I also smiled at him. "Hi." Tyler seemed to give me a deep look, or perhaps it was just a casual glance. I slowly lowered my eyelashes. The camera quickly moved away from my face. Whatever my friends said to him next, I didn't seem to hear any of it. I was just like him that day. He poured himself a drink too. The video call ended. Someone laughed. "This Tyler lives so damn carefree. Not like us, each of us tied to the grind like donkeys, with no freedom at all. He's been single all this time. And his old man hasn't blown his top." Just thinking about it makes me laugh. Not long ago, his old man was nagging him about marriage again, and he straight up said he's gay and doesn't like women. Old man Lou almost had a stroke. But he just added fuel to the fire by saying that if anyone keeps pushing him to marry, he'll bring his boyfriend home and come out publicly. Who dares to rush them now? You tell me. Tyler's really gay. Come to think of it, I actually quite like his type. Jason just laughed. Gay my ass. He has someone he likes, but that person got married. He just couldn't get what he wanted, so he's throwing in the towel. Which celestial fairy is this? Damn, seriously, after knowing him for so long, there hasn't even been a female mosquito around him. Which woman is so amazing to have hooked young Master Lou like this? No idea. He's keeping it tightly under wraps, afraid it might affect her. Jason, as soon as the words were spoken, everyone suddenly fell silent for a moment. Someone abruptly changed the subject. I set down my glass and got up to go to the restroom. Leaning against the bathroom counter, I took out my phone and glanced at it. The conversation with Tyler had been left untouched for 3 months. I thanked him. The reason that matter went so smoothly, I knew perfectly well that behind it all was Tyler's doing. The real wedding gift he intended to give me was actually this one. I sent the message. And it wasn't until late at night that Tyler replied to me. He said, "Hannah, what will you do when you're unhappy in the future?" He wanted to give me freedom, to let me escape the pit of fire. But I didn't, I suppose. In the end, I am still worldly and selfish, or perhaps I'm just afraid, just sobered up. That's why I placed the Jong family's interests and my own above love, or maybe, I just didn't want to drag Tyler into this turmoil. Because there are too many such stories that start off passionately, yet often end in complete mess. I don't want to hear him one day hysterically accusing me, "It's all because of you that I've become isolated and my reputation is ruined." I want this brief story between us, create more beautiful memories. Tyler doesn't know about my agreement with the Jew family. Nor does he know that I'll divorce and leave the Jew family in 6 months. He knows nothing about it. He thought I would stay in that hellhole for the rest of my life. He thought I was deeply in love with Jason, so I was willing to endure. he might have hated me, but in the end, he would still worry about what to do if I became unhappy. I can't remember how long I cried. I drifted into a dazed sleep just before dawn. I dreamed of Tyler. He was straddling his motorcycle, laughing wildly and unrestrained. He said, "Hannah, let's go. I'll take you to elope. Do you dare?" On the day Jason and I got divorced. The weather was still beautiful. He had a hangover from last night and was in terrible shape. His hands were shaking when he signed the papers. "Hanji, can't we really start over? I feel inexplicably sad in my heart. Look, a man's love really comes and goes in the blink of an eye." The woman he once loved with all his heart later became someone he despised to the core. Rose lived a very miserable life after the divorce. She had an accident and was being chased for debt. $2 million. She begged Jason, kneeling before him in desperation. He only felt annoyed and kicked the person away with one foot. "Jason, sign it." He seemed reluctant, but ultimately signed his name. "Our divorce news hasn't been made public for now." The Jew family thought it was too fast and might arouse public speculation, so they wanted to delay it a bit longer. I didn't really care either way. I just told them, "If I start dating, I'll let you know in advance, and please be prepared to go public with it." After getting the divorce certificate, I traveled around for a while with my bestie Chloe. A few months ago, she also got divorced. Her ex-husband felt guilty towards her, so she received a very generous alimony. We went to so many places together, domestic, international. On the final leg of the journey, Chloe had to return to her home country first. I went to Greece alone, to Santorini. Tyler really liked it here. I didn't really think about having to see him or that something must happen between us. Yet in my heart, I still hoped, if fate allows, if there's no one else by his side, then perhaps it wouldn't be so bad. I walked aimlessly along the coastline. The sea breeze tousled my long hair that fell to my waist. As I brushed away the disheveled strands, suddenly, I thought of that night in his car again, the white camellia bracelet placed in the storage compartment, and a strand of long hair that fell on his arm. I looked at my own wrist. There was also a white camellia bracelet wrapped around it. I raised my hand and tied up my messy hair. Can't help but wonder, Tyler, where are you now? What is he doing? Did he wait for me? "Hannah, you look even prettier with your hair down." A voice carrying a hint of wild recklessness, yet utterly familiar, suddenly rang out behind me. I froze, standing completely still. The sea wind howled, and the waves rolled onto the shore, lapping at my calves. The whole world fell silent. The creamy white knitted maxi dress, its hem soaked, clung tightly to my body. The small white jade gourd dangling by my ear swayed in the sea breeze, yet tangled in my hair. The man's strong yet rough hands untied my hair. His breath was scorching hot, yet subtly erratic in rhythm. "Hannah, you're doing this on purpose." My mind went completely blank, and I just stared blankly as I asked, "What? Wear these jade gourd earrings, dressed like a little jade gourd too, trying to seduce me on purpose?" I suddenly lowered my head and laughed. After laughing for a while, I finally turned around to look at him. He was shirtless, his skin tanned to a wheatish hue. Yet it made him appear even more sexy and masculine. My gaze slowly trailed down from his face, lingering on his toned chest, narrow waist, and perfectly defined abs. He stood still, letting me look him over. I tilted my head slightly and studied his sharp features. "Tyler, you're not going to retreat so quickly again, are you?" He didn't get angry. After all, last time he had indeed proven his capabilities in the end. "Why don't you try again?" He took a few steps toward me. My gaze was effortlessly drawn to that spot. The light gray loose swim trunks revealed their outline clearly when the wind blew. Gray really does make things look bigger. My ears burned, and I couldn't suppress the restless stirring in my heart. Yet he said, "Have you been practicing properly all this time?" Tyler pulled me into his arms. He curled his lips slightly. "Just ask directly if you have questions. No need to beat around the bush." I lowered my lashes and bit my lip. After hesitating for a while, he finally spoke again. "I heard you like men now. Is that so? Why don't you ask it yourself?" Tyler pressed me tightly against his chest. I could hear his vigorous heartbeat. I also sensed the terrifying changes in his body. "Hannah, did you hear its answer?" The corners of her lips would reveal a pair of dimples, adding a touch of playfulness. I opened my eyes and saw again that overwhelmingly intense, naked desire to possess. This time, I wasn't afraid. Sweetness beyond words flowed gently through my heart. I pursed my lips in a smile, my dimples faintly visible. "Tyler, I heard you." "Heard what?" He lowered his head to kiss me, starting with a light touch before gradually deepening. Until the very end, he seemed as if he wanted to devour me whole. My breathing grew increasingly erratic, and the sound of my reply was suddenly carried away by the wind. It said, "Both it and you missed me dearly." Well, that's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe. We'll continue to update with more exciting stories, and we look forward to seeing you next time.